Stumbling blocks are stepping stones. When things turn out differently than planned, we may feel that some person, place, or thing is obstructing or delaying our progress. Throughout life, from the cradle to the grave, each of us run up against what might appear to be stumbling blocks. They may be on the physical, mental, or spiritual level and seemingly interfere with our mission, talent, and destiny. It may look as if this or that is preventing fulfillment of some hopes and dreams, fulfillment of our health, happiness, and success potentiality. Such interferences could be described by many terms, but the word adversity seems to fit any of them, for adversity is a word much spoken of by the old writers and poets as well as in modern times. And this I want to speak to you about, brown baggers. Adversity is not without comforts and hopes, wrote Francis Bacon in discussing the subject. And he also wrote, adversity doth best discover virtue. Said Robert Burton, a contemporary of Shakespeare, the gods are well pleased when they see great men contending with adversity. Fielding said, adversity is the trial of principle. Without it a man hardly knows whether he is honest or not. Another wrote, God brings men into deep waters, not to drown them, but to cleanse them. Disraeli said, there is no education like adversity. Adversity has made many a man great who, had he remained prosperous, would only have been rich. If we can accept each adversity of life as a kick in the pants instead of in the face, adversity can become a step up the ladder of success. It is not in never bending, but in never failing to spring erect again after the gale has passed, that victory is finally achieved. Hammering hardens steel, but crumbles putty. As the story goes, a small-town merchant had adversity when he ran for a political office and was soundly trounced. He polled so few votes he appeared ridiculous. He managed to turn the cards, however, by putting this sign in his window: $25 reward for the name of the man who voted for me. Everybody saw it and laughed. People congratulated him on his sense of humor and sportsmanship. The story of his sign went the rounds, with the result that people whom he had never had for customers began to trade at his store. So he got a lemon and made a lemonade. Brown baggers, innate or nature seems to have a way of pushing us around just enough to needle us into really making something out of ourselves. It's like that great poem, When Nature Wants a Man. For when nature wants to drill a man and thrill a man and skill a man, when nature wants to mold a man to play the noblest part, when she yearns with all her heart to create so great and bold a man that all the world shall praise, watch her method, watch her ways, how she ruthlessly perfects whom she royally elects, how she hammers him and hurts him, and with mighty blows converts him into trial shapes of clay, which only nature understands. And while his tortured heart is crying and he lifts beseeching hands, how she bends but never breaks when his good she undertakes, how she uses whom she chooses, and with every purpose fuses him, by every art induces him to try his splendor out. Nature knows what she's about. When nature wants to take a man and shake a man and wake a man, when nature wants to make a man to do the future's will, when she tries with all her skill, when she yearns with all her soul to create him large and whole, with what cunning she prepares him, how she goads and never spares him, how she whets him and she frets him, and in poverty begets him, how she often disappoints whom she sacredly anoints, with what wisdom she will hide him, never minding what betide him, though his genius sob with sliding, and his pride may not forget, she bids him struggle harder yet, she makes him lonely, so that only God's highest messages shall reach him, so that she may surely teach him what the hierarchy planned, though he may not understand. She gives him passions to command, how remorselessly she spurs him, with terrific ardor stirs him, when she poignantly prefers him. And when nature wants to name a man and fame a man and tame a man, and when nature wants to shame a man to do his heavenly best, when she tries the highest test that her reckoning may bring, and when she reins him and then restrains him, so his body scarce contains him, while she fires him and inspires him, keeps him yearning, ever burning for a tantalizing goal, she lures and lacerates his soul. She sets a challenge for his spirit, draws it higher when he is near it, makes a jungle that he clear it, makes a desert that he fear it, and subdue it if he can, and so doth nature make a man. And then to test his spirit's wrath, she hurls a mountain in his path, puts a bitter choice before him, climb or perish. So she says, watch her purpose, watch her ways. Nature's plan is wondrous kind, could we understand her mind. Fools are they who call her blind, when his feet are torn and bleeding, yet his higher powers speeding, blazing newer paths and fine, and when the force that is divine leaps to challenge every failure, and his ardor still is sweet, and love and hope are burning in the presence of defeat, and then lo the crisis, lo the shout, that must call the leader out. And when the people need salvation, doth he come to lead the nation. And thus doth nature show her plan, when the world has found a man. Brown baggers, as a chiropractor, you are the man. You are the one that nature has found. All adversity has been a stumbling block for a moment, but it really is a stepping stone. Just remember that every man and every woman is on a cross. Some ask to be taken down like the thief on the left. Some ask to be taken up like the thief on the right. If you brown baggers will just remember that great prayer of St. Francis, and let us all listen to it and try to live it every day, every hour, and every minute of our lives, we will indeed know that nature is making us a man. For that prayer says, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, St. Francis said, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, not so much to be understood as to understand, not so much to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Hands. That memorable day some 60 years ago when Daniel David Palmer, the discoverer of chiropractic, asked his good friend and student, Reverend Samuel Weed to give a name to this new science highlights an event of historical moment. Reverend Weed was a Presbyterian minister, so that learned gentleman approached this task humbly and prayerfully. I am sure it was not by chance that he sought out from the original Greek language the key word chiro and the key word praktos, meaning done by hand, and coined the word chiropractic. The philosopher Quintilian wrote these words on hands. Other parts of the body assist the speaker, but the hands speak themselves. By them we ask, we promise, we invoke, we dismiss, we threaten, we entreat, we deprecate. By them we express fear, joy, grief, our doubts, assent or patience. We show moderation or profusion, and we mark number and time. Increase your realization, brown baggers, that your hands are physical and mental and spiritual in usage. You remember that each hand has 27 bones, classified as 8 corpus, the wrist, 5 metacarpus, the palm, and 14 phalanges, 3 for each finger and 2 for the thumb. All the movements of these hands are accomplished by 2 sets of muscles and tendons, the flexors and extensors, and nature requires 30 different joints and pivot points and more than 50 muscles to move each hand. Anatomical researchers tell us that these hands can assume any of 300 million positions. How wonderfully the law of movement is portrayed in the working of these hands. I love a hand, don't you, that meets your own with a grasp that causes some sensation. How much we divulge about our character by that simple act of shaking hands. It requires a force of only a fraction of an ounce to pick up a piece of paper, while putting on our shoes and socks calls for 6 to 12 pounds. Yet if need arises, you can apply and squeeze with only the right hand more than 150 pounds. Each finger is a rugged individualist. It has a definite role to play and resembles the others in general shape only. They differ in length and match about as badly as a group of Raw Army recruits reporting for their first drill. Yet these oddly assorted digits take on a marvelous symmetry just as soon as that hand goes into action. Begin curling your fingers into a palpating position and observe how various parts slide into their proper places like well-oiled pistons. The difference in length has been neatly adjusted, hasn't it? Those 3 fingertips line up neatly and with one another, and that hand becomes a sensing device, as well as the chiropractor's most versatile and valuable tool. Do you realize, brown baggers, that around 5 million tiny sense organs are embedded in the skin of your body, and that these serve as built-in meters? They register touch, pain, pressure, warmth, and various other sensations. But do you know, brown baggers, that a third, or about 1.5 million, are located in the hands alone? The great majority of these are in the palm and fingertips, incidentally. Now examine yourself. What do you feel the moment you first touch that patient? And by the same token, what does that patient feel? The patient should know how competent his chiropractor is from the very first contact with your hands. Do you know, or can you comprehend, that on the brain's map, the trunk of your body and your shoulders, being large though not particularly active, rate relatively little territory? Your hands, however, have the largest territory of all. They require extra brain space, for they are energetic go-getters on both the body and the mind. We glibly say, chiropractic is the science, practice, and the art of things natural, or adjusting the spinal vertebrae to their normal juxtaposition. But are we truly making it a science and an art? Are we constantly practicing the art of palpation, nerve tracing, x-ray, and adjusting, and by this constant usage and training, forming habit patterns and mental patterns, thereby increasing and enlarging this brain map of ours? Let's promise ourselves not to let the urge to be ultra-scientific overshadow our desire to release that imprisoned nerve impulse in this suffering universe and in every suffering individual that walks into your office. For if he is suffering, if he is having less than his 100% fulfillment of his mission, talent, and destiny, he has an interference, quantitatively or qualitatively, or both. And complete proper salesmanship and FCB and PSI, and correcting quantitative interference by using your hands and removing this interference in the body will do more to get that sick person well than all of the other kinds of therapy or treatments known to the human race in this 20th century. I wonder if we brown braggers, by our great desire to be rated as scientific practitioners, are losing sight of one of the real issues of getting sick people well. Use your hands more. Never treat a patient, brown baggers, without including an adjustment. This is one law in the practice of chiropractic that must never, never be violated by you. To do so is indeed prostituting chiropractic. Remember that your hands are shaped like his, and so be careful in the things they do. Let them be quick to lift the weak. Let them be kind and soft and strong. May they be swift to heal the sick, to ease a load, to right a wrong. Your hands are made like his. Beware, they hold the weight of no man's pain, who asks their aid to help him bear his suffering, and asked in vain. He made the deaf to hear, the lame to walk, the blind to see, until one day the fools, they came and nailed his hands upon a tree. Our hands are like his hands. As wings, let them caress all living things, lest he look down on earth and see what things are wrought beneath the sun by us, his images, and be ashamed of what his hands have done. Do you practice under the banner of chiropractic, BBs? If so, do you uphold your hands in fairness to the profession you represent? In chiropractic, your hands are for adjusting subluxations, for correcting interferences. Make your practice and your hands gel into a oneness to remove interference to the mission, to the talents, and to the destinies of your patients. And your percentage of results, brown baggers, will be greater than any service to the sick the world has ever known. Use your hands.